Welcome back. We're looking at the controversies surrounding genetically modified organisms or foods with Professor Ishaku Mohammed. He's a professor of plant breeding and he's also a geneticist at the Institute for Agricultural Research, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Kaduna State. Prof, are there adverse effects associated with GMOs? The easiest way to put this would be, are there any disadvantages with GMOs?
Maybe I would like to explain the context in which adverse effects will be expected in the first instance. For an agricultural product, seed for example, the areas that it will pose adverse effect will be in terms of its food value, when it is ingested as food, and also when it is grown in the field, its tendency to overcome and colonize the whole field. I don't know whether you have heard of a weed called awolo, is Eupatorium odoratum. I was told in the early mid-80s that this weed was imported together with imported cargo from abroad. And before you know it, it has spreaded all across southwestern Nigeria in particular. So the other adverse effect to the environment is whether or not a GM product will be able to pose this kind of threat. And the third one is whether or not this GM material or seed, whether it is going to attack other organisms that it is not supposed to target.
So these are some uncertainties.
No, I'm saying that if you are going to define it, because people have to understand, if it is not an endless things that you will combine. It is either to the health or to the environment, okay? None of this has been proven with any of the commercial.
But I still ask you this.
Yes.
Is this a certainty or an uncertainty? Are you certain that there will be no adverse effect?
There is no adverse effect whatsoever. We have been...
But you just said that nothing has been proven to show that whether or not these things there will be adverse effects.
No, I'm saying that the areas, I defined the areas where you will anticipate. If in science we defined our scope of what are the areas that you will search for, what are the areas of concern, and the areas of concern as posed by people who don't like the technology is from these areas. On the environment, safety as food, and so on. These are the two areas. For both of them, GM products that have been released so far commercially, none of them posed any different environmental effect than its conventional counterpart, and neither does it pose any health hazard.
Is the goal to phase out conventional foods using GMOs?
No.
Just a second. Can they coexist?
They can, sure. They are coexisting in many
countries. Can they
countries.
coexist on the same farm?
They can. They can.
Well, then there are questions, and there are some persons say that contamination could occur.
Let me explain this. That even for conventional crops, we have seeds of different varieties, and there are ways of maintaining the purity of each variety. And these are scientifically determined procedures of maintaining the purity of each variety. Depending on, once you don't intend them to mix, there are ways of maintaining the purity of either of the two, both the conventional and the GM product.
Will the use of GM products, will GM products phase out pesticides and herbicides?
It will reduce the amount to be used.
Will it
definitely, substantially.
Will it increase the use of chemicals?
No, it will reduce the use of chemical rather in many aspects. For insect-resistant varieties, it will definitely bring down the need to use chemicals.
Let me bring it to the farmers who are directly affected now. It would appear that these GM products, GM crops would rather favor certain agricultural systems, the mechanized farmers, that the peasant farmers at the lowest rung of the ladder might not have access to the seedlings. Is this true?
No, that is not correct. the seeds will be accessible to all categories of farmers. What differs is the quantum of seed to be demanded. And the agronomic practices are all the same for both conventional and the GM crops. In order to maintain the integrity and the purity, the genetic purity of the material, they are advised to go and source new revitalized seed, which is pure in its content.
Will it be affordable to peasant farmers?
This is very affordable to peasant farmers. There is no technology fee to be charged on it.
Will it be, is it sustainable technology?
It's very sustainable. In fact, it's the most sustainable because instead of spraying about 8 times, farmers will now need to spray only twice. So what more sustainable thing is there than to reduce cost of production for farmers and get more yield?
One of the biggest controversies surrounding GM products is labeling. Would you subscribe to labeling of GM products to at least allow the consumer to decide whether or not they want a GM product?
Yes, sure. I support labeling so people can decide on whether or not to take. At least time will come when, just like we have choice, there are people who will never fly in an aircraft. They want to travel by road all the time. It's their own choice. But it is at the peril of their taking longer time to commute as opposed to people who can fly. But one is affordability, second is personal choice. So people, these two things will coexist. And I tell you, time will come when people, without even asking, even if it is labeled, nobody will even read about it. Because by then, you would have been convinced beyond the propaganda of people who are opposed to this technology that there is no problem associated with it.
Who is funding the project in Nigeria?
The project is being funded by the NEPAD. It's called the New Initiative for African Development. USAID is also giving assistance for the research aspect of it.
And we can boldly say that every scientist carrying out this research is indigenous.
All of us, all my colleagues are Nigerians. All of us, we get our salaries paid by the Institute for Agricultural Research of Ahmadu Bello University. We are Nigerian civil servants. We are accountable to the Nigerian public. We are working proudly to solve one of cowpea farmers' major problems of production.
How do you certify this product safe for consumption? Which test subjects do you use?
Initially, because by law, now I also eat it. But during the period of, we are restricted by NBMA until when all the tests are carried out. We have used test animals in the beginning. We have also used compositional analysis because there is comparative analysis of composition. If something is different, then it will have an ingredient additional or missing. If you have two different...
So you don't use human test subjects?
No, in science we don't use human.
You use animals?
We use animals in the beginning. But now, since we have been given the go-ahead to eat it, I eat it myself. But I am not allowed until when all this certification and approval is granted by NBMA, then I will allow people.
We're almost out of time, but I'm quite worried as to how we don't use human test subjects, but we certify it fit for consumption for humans.
Yes.
I also would like to know what if you've had a case where it's been eaten by an animal and that animal has exhibited some form of adverse reaction or possibly died.
Then it is not safe.
Have you had that case? Have you had that case?
No, not at all. Because it's the same cowpea. It's not expected for it to die anyway.
Okay.
Yes.
Prof,
and let me personally tell you that I have eaten GM products ranging from GM corn,
so you consider
GM
yourself a
cucumber.
test subject?
Yes, I am. I have eaten severally.
Prof, thank you so much for coming on Hard
Thank
Copy.
you.
Well, many thanks for watching. For feedback, please use the email address and social media handles displayed on your screen. This interview will be posted on our webpage, channelstv.com. I am Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.